Tonight on the broadcast, you have myself, Bernard Muhammad, Keith Floydnoy, Guy Moore, Jay Beasley. How y'all doing tonight?
What's going on, fellas?
Good. How
All
you?
right.
It's been a minute.
doing
It's
good.
been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'd like to thank everybody who's watching us tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch TV. We want to talk about Chicago Bears 2022 draft class. You know, I know we missed a whole lot of things. We've been off maybe a little bit over a month since that we did our last show, so feel a little rusty tonight. But hey, anybody following the NBA playoffs before we get into? No, not you, Jay.
No.
What you thinking about it, guy? What you think about the playoffs so far?
You know what? I tell people all the time when it comes to playoffs, regardless of what platform, people automatically, and I'm talking about them Nets, you automatically assume because you got two Hall of Fame players out there, the guy missed time, he could come back. You got to have a team that's been intact for 3 or 4 years with the same nucleus to have a star guy come out and then come back in the playoffs so you don't miss a beat.
What about Kyrie?
Yeah, but
you know what, guy? You know what I think? Really looking back at that game, I don't even think it mattered. That team was better than them. That team was better than them. You got 2 stars, but as a team, they was a better team.
How about this that translates to football? This translates to football. Defense does win championships.
Absolutely.
Man, they put the pimp hand on them, man. Anytime you got Kevin Durant and Kyrie on your squad, and at the end of the game, with 3 minutes left, they both stare up there, man, y'all just go ahead and shoot. You know, but it is what it is.
You know, I think since the last time we broadcast, the Bulls actually lost the series to
Milwaukee.
Who I forgot who they lost against?
Yeah, Milwaukee. The Bucks. Yeah, Milwaukee
against the Bucks. Yeah, against the defending champs. I mean, we kind of got our hopes up a little bit from game 1 and 2, but me and my brother were talking about it. We actually said we didn't think they was gonna win but one game anyway, but I guess that's all they ended up winning anyway.
Hey, you got guys through the season that have been missing games for injury. Then you got the 20th best rebounding team in the league. And in our division, you can't be the 20th best rebounder in the league and expect to, to go to the next round. That's just how it go, man. But I'm still a Bulls fan.
Yeah, I am too. But, I just think, the NBA is just such a different – it's such a different league now. I posted on Facebook, like, why would somebody shoot? Everybody look at the ball and then just go back down the court. Nobody crashed the board. It's just a different game, man. You got Giannis facilitating. He's the most dominant player in the NBA, and he at the top of the key facilitating. So it's just a different game for me, man. And frankly, like I say, I really don't watch it. I really don't.
And you know what? But not just real quick, not just from a playing standpoint, but the one thing I love about the NBA is the players control the league. When they have like something going down where something's happened to someone, even if they don't even like the team, everybody's on the same page. And then the ownership is like, well, you know what? Let's listen to the players. I wish it would be like that for the NFL. There'd be a whole lot of foolishness that wouldn't be going on.
And I respect your opinion, but guess what? The Lakers listen to LeBron, and guess where they at?
So what you just said about it is you like their social capabilities more than the actual game they put on the floor.
Well, now, yeah.
Okay.
Now, I like to see somebody get fouled. I want to see you get fouled. The referee just blows a whistle. Just shoot your free throws. You sneeze at somebody, it's a flagrant 2.
Right.
Which is why we watch football.
You know what? I'm one of the last things I want to say about basketball before we move to the Bears is I know there's been in this series and throughout the year, players really getting into it with fans, and also where fans seem to be crossing the line to a point, of throwing stuff on players. And I know with football, fans, they act crazy, but there's a barrier. The fans are actually a long way away. I mean, maybe when you get to the tunnel, somebody may try to throw something over or maybe scream and stuff, but with basketball, they're right there. I hope the NBA doesn't get to the point where they have to do something to try to put a barrier between the fans. And I know I heard something on the radio the other day where somebody was speculating. They wonder, is gambling making it more out of control, which it could be, right? Because people feeling that these players, because the players know what's going on, right? They're watching FanDuel and all those sports. Hey, Plank, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's more about society, because it's not just basketball or football. You think that, for the other day, a fan actually tried to assault Dave Chappelle while he's on. And, I think that was a good detriment, because I don't think nobody's going to look at that as the example of what to do. I think that guy's going to be the example of what not to do going forward. So I think this is more of what, where our current society is, more than any particular league.
Yeah, when you look, you know what, a lot of people don't realize that at these smaller places, like I can't think of some of the name, but I'm gonna just say, like, all jokes aside, just a little smaller place that have been occurring over the years, where but you can understand how a person could make it on the stage, like impromptu or some of those, because the stages are really not that high and the fans are right there in these small facilities. But I had seen videos over the years where people ran on the stage for comedians, right? But the difference is, how did somebody get on the stage, in a big arena like that and get in with a weapon?
Right. Right.
Well, think about this too, Bernard, to taking your point. Mike Tyson, the ex-heavyweight champ of the world, ends up getting a physical altercation on a plane. Nobody in their right mind would mess with Mike Tyson.
But
he put hands on somebody.
But you know what? Without even getting into politics and saying names, a particular individual that actually left office had that same type of attitude, where he talked about people in a disrespectful way, a reprehensibly disrespectful way. And the common people think that that's the norm. So now what happens is the culture, just like Plank said, completely has seismically shifted. You wouldn't think of stuff like this happening 10, 15, 20 years ago, because there was a certain type of attack where I'll get into this, like, as far as degree work, as far as masonry is concerned. When you go to different things, and sometimes people may have their little feelings. One of our most excellent Grand Prix said something that was just very prolific. He said, I don't want to see nobody in their feelings, because remember, you paid for it. So if I paid $30 to go see somebody and a dude run on the stage, guess what? I'm going to be right behind him, and I'm going to get to him before the guy does. So,
Well, one of the things that happened too is that the internet, whatever, all these social media applications kind of remove that fourth wall, where people used to have a barrier where they couldn't just say anything to you. Now they got very comfortable calling you out your name, talking about you, and now they do the same things they do on social media when they're in person with people.
Internet folks.
Like Jay Beasley ain't the guy to be running up on to be trying to fight Bernard Muhammad. That ain't what you try.
Right.
But veneer has been removed from people.
Right, but I remember a few years ago, somebody. Let me really wrap this up and get to the Bears draft. But
First lady.
First lady.
Hey, Godfrey, the comedian. I know he's a martial artist, and I saw this clip of somebody threatening to come on the stage.
And by the way, he played football in Illinois too.
Okay, and and I don't think that would have worked out for them. Like I said, he's a trained martial artist. But anyway, hey, let's get to the draft 2020. While the Bears are in the middle of starting a rebuilding process, there have been a lot of praise and a lot of criticism of both the rebuilding and the draft. So I want to get y'all opinions on the draft that just took place a few weeks ago. I believe the Bears drafted 11 players in that draft. They went into the draft with, I believe, 5 draft picks. Six. Okay, yeah, they made a trade and got an additional 1. But when they finished the draft, they finished with 11 players. We're gonna get into maybe the top 3. We probably won't, with the time. We may not make it through all 11, which may not be necessary. But so, hey, anybody have like want to take the first shot at the draft or what they think about the draft? Go ahead, guy.
Real quick, man. You know what? And the thing is, look at this draft was almost like looking at a referee. It's like you see a referee and he makes a call, and as soon as you see it, oh, that was a horrible call. It was horrible. But the people who take time to kind of go back and actually watch the film and look at it and say, you know what, he actually made the right call. I think a lot of people, and totally understandable, would have wanted the Bears to pick wide receivers, like maybe the first pick or the first couple picks. But just like I was telling you guys off camera, the one thing that I liked about the Bears is this is the first time in a long time that I've actually seen a GM sort of pick the two best available players for their situation. You went from us not drafting a wide receiver within the first in round 2 out of 2 picks to having a cornerback and a safety who pretty much are going to be starting. I really like what they did. And just like we said before, think of where the Bears were last year. And what we're doing now is we're building. Don't expect and look at the template of Cincinnati and just automatically assume that this draft was made to put us in the Super Bowl. It's there to put us in the best possible. It's to address situations that we were very, very inept at. And I mean, we could talk about the offense. That's totally cool. But one of the biggest glaring problems that we had is we had some defensive backs that couldn't cover. So now we got 2 guys in, and then they gave you the wide receiver as far as the 3rd pick. So I like what he did. If I had to give a grade for him, I'd give him like a B+.
Okay. Hey, anybody else got any opinions on the draft overall before we actually move to the Pacific players?
Mm-hmm. Again, I just say, I just thought it was a mature draft for a first-time GM. He addressed the needs of the team, and he didn't bow down to what the fans or what the procrastinators, the people who actually run the draft say he should do. And I just think that he really, really made some choices that wasn't popular with fans or with the NFL people, but he did what he felt was good for the team in the long term. And just to say, he came out this draft with 11 players. Before the draft, the Bears had 29 roster spots that they need to fill to get to 95 just to go to training camp. So he flipped 6 picks into 11. And to me, that was mature because he knows this team is not competing for the Super Bowl. We probably ain't going to the playoffs. We might win 6 or 7 games, but what he did was he stacked his roster with young talent. Mm-hmm. Talent that 7 of them just signed 4-year contracts. So you already know you got 7 players under contract from now until this 22, 4 years. So now we're talking about 2026. So he stacked the roster with some young developmental talent, and I actually think he's going to come out of this with some gems. So I actually think I actually like what he did. I really do.
Okay. Plank or Tammy?
I agree with both of you. Here it is. This was a situation where, keep in mind, we didn't have a first-round draft choice. So, put that out there at first. Secondly, we had to support Justin Fields. Last year, Justin Fields got 0 time in training camp trying to get any reps. So he's effectively a rookie out there as well. The big argument a lot of people make is we didn't do enough to help Justin Fields.
Yes, we did.
I think we helped Justin Fields by having these big brutes in front of him that's going to be upset and protect them from people trying to sack him. Remember, the Bears gave away 58 sacks last year.
Yep.
It wasn't so much from a performance standpoint that really bothered me. You give up a sack, you give up a sack.
Right.
But they weren't mad about it. It didn't bother them. It seemed to be okay that somebody didn't ran over your quarterback. So in my opinion, you had to get rid of all of those guys, or as many as possible, and rebuild the team from the inside out. So I agree with what Poles is actually doing.
Okay. Yeah, hey, Plank, that's a good point. I thought the line was kind of nice, and that's why when what's the player came off the bench and he pushed one of the players who stepped up. Who was that?
Ifedi pushed.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know what? I want my linemen. I've said this before. I want my linemen, offensive linemen, to be mean and nasty.
Yes.
You know, and it's an attitude that the offensive line has to have. And whatever play it is, you know, if it's a run play or if it's a passing play, especially something short, those guys got to have the attitude that we about to get this, right? And they take pride in pushing those other guys and also getting those short yards, knowing they could get it. And I thought the offensive line was kind of like, no, you know, just real lackadaisical. As a matter of fact, I was just laughing this week to showing how it just is, you know, when you have that nasty attitude, sometimes it goes to on field Ole Cruz. Right.
You know what? Hey, you know what though? Hey, Bernard. I'm gonna tell you right now. I may sound like a dud later, or I may sound like Nostradamus. I'm gonna tell you one of the biggest pickups that we got was getting Jason Peters. I'm telling you, the dude is nasty. He's nasty. He can play the line. He's probably gonna be the center. He the type of dude that if this happened last year and he was there when Tevin Jenkins got old boy, he'd have been in the line. He probably would have punched dude in the face. And now you got your whole offensive line like, man, I will run through hell in a gasoline suit for you. We need that. And so I'm glad that they addressed the offensive line before the draft. And if you look at how we got it stacked up, like I said, I could be wrong, but I got a feeling that we got like nasty dudes and some dogs out there. I don't see Justin Fields getting sacked even half as much as he did last year.
Hey, Tammy, you had a comment before we pull up the players?
Well, I'll just say I don't have a grade for the draft or what's going on right now because I'm reserving judgment for a lot of reasons. But I will say that I am not unhappy with us addressing the defensive backs first in the draft. That I'm okay with.
Okay. Hey, Blank, I don't see the slides down there.
Let me share it.
Okay. Let me move this screen so it'll come up. So, hey, so the Bears' first draft pick is Kyler Gordon. Hold on, I see it, Blank. Here we go. Let's bring him up. Okay. This is okay. Can you make it a little bigger, Blank?
You know I can.
Okay.
I had a joke in there, but I'm okay. It's PG,
man. This looks like this is just a new starting lineup, right? Without a quarterback.
Damn near.
They got another player. They're gonna play both ways. You got a center on there. You got a couple of offensive linemen, receivers, safeties, cornerbacks. I guess somebody you don't have is you have a linebacker in there. No, you don't have any linebackers. You got a running back.
You got a punter.
Yeah.
A punter.
Right.
They got a whole team here. Hey, let's move on to the next slide with Kyler Gordon.
There you go.
There we go. Hey, if anybody want to take that and kind of read what you see there with Kyler Gordon.
He plays the ball very well in the air, doesn't panic, and has the ball skills and hands to catch the ball. Aggressive player who likes to get his hands on receivers at the line of scrimmage and press and downfield coverage, which is what we need. Played both the slot and the outside corner. Weaknesses: has an average functional strength at times, can get stuck to blockers and slow to disengage, which for a corner, as Plank could tell you, for a defensive back, slow to disengage just means that you got blocked. But at the same time, you know, you can shed those blocks.
Yeah.
Right. So it looked like he runs 4.5 240, weigh about 194 pounds, 5'11". Hey, let's check out some footage on him.
With time.
It don't look like he. It don't look like he was slow to disengage off that blocker when he caused that fumble.
Hey, you know what? You know what? He's out in Seattle. He's working out with Richard Sherman and working out with Los Angeles Rams linebacker Bobby Wagner. And Sherman's like, yeah. And a lot of people give Sherman slack talk. Oh, he's a zone guy. But think about it. He did whatever he was in. He was great at it. And for a guy to be a college player and to go work out and has the want to go work out with NFL guys and the NFL guys will pump you up. I'm excited about this kid, man. I'm really excited about him.
Yeah, so a little recap on Kyler Gordon. He's a 4-year player. He had 75 solo tackles over his career in college. He had 97 total tackles, 75 solos, 22 assist tackles. And interceptions were a little low based off this. Like he didn't get any interceptions to 2021. I know the 2019 season was a partial season because of COVID. Hey, some of the things I did notice on the video on that last interception, that was a receiver-like catch.
Yeah.
Stretched out, laid for the ball, and at least all those footage. I know you put certain footage together for players, but all those plays, he was stuck to his man to me.
Hey, Bernard, what I like to do is let's juxtapose what you saw on his film versus last year. A lot of times last year, you didn't even see a defensive back in the frame within $2 of the receiver. The guys would be running down the field, and his 3 DBs chasing him. And he already in the end zone. Versus you see this guy every play. He right in that guy's grill. Yes. This is a DB that did an intimidation move that stands up 3 yards away from the receiver saying, come on, I got whatever you got. I love it. That's the best choice they could have made as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, Plank, you know what, though, Plank, which is interesting, and I've learned a lot in the last couple of years of Bears Banter, and as far as defensive backs, I mean, I've got a wealth of knowledge from listening to you. What I like about this kid, and I heard before when they drafted him, one, he likes to dance. And people say, what does that have to do with anything? His feet are very, nice, and his hips are really loose. So you can't turn a guy like that. He can turn and get acceleration. So a lot of times when people look at cornerbacks, they're like, oh, how many interceptions he had? What I look at is defense. It's like, okay, he may have 2 interceptions, but how many passes did he break up? How many times was the ball thrown to him and there were incompletions? That's what I look at. I mean, I'd love to have interceptions, but if you got a guy who's a dog on the island by himself and you're comfortable with putting him out there with a 1 or even a 2 who's great, and he holds his own, that's way better than what we had.
Hey, sometimes your interceptions are down because they're not throwing to your guy.
Right.
Because he's not open.
He gave up 0 touchdowns in a major college league.
He says 0 touchdowns.
0 touchdowns the entire year. He did not give up a touchdown.
There you go.
There you go.
And then too, a lot of people need to realize, people look at, well, he only ran a 4.52. Well, guess what? When you run in a cover 2 scheme, speed doesn't really matter. As long as you can cover, your third of the field, then you okay. You okay. But
Jay,
people got to know the knowledge of the football game.
Didn't Jerry Rice
also Jay, when you look at defensive back speed, sometimes that speed is because they're trying to recover too.
Yeah.
The recovery speed from a defensive back making a mistake. That's what we mean. For those who may not know what that means, is some of those guys are making mistakes and they need that speed to recover. That 4.5 and all, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. Especially in the zone, in that cover 2 also, which is a zone. But that's what I'm saying.
Got the greatest receiver in the NFL. Ran a 4.56 at the combine.
I'm just saying. Look, and we all can attest to this. How many times we seen Jerry Rice go up against a cornerback that's running a 4.3 or 4.4, and he catch the ball and create separation?
Doesn't matter.
Speed is a good thing to have, but what's more important than speed to me is balance. if you can catch the ball and get off quick, I don't care. You could be road runner. That guy got balance and you still kind of stumbling. That gives him 1/10 of a second. So that 4.3 speed don't mean nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
So I agree with Tammy on this pick. As far as when I say this pick is as far as picking a defensive back, I agree with this in this slot because a lot of the top receivers were gone in the first round because this draft kind of went a little different this year with, I believe, only one quarterback going in the first round. You got a lot of defensive players, and then you start getting receivers going off the board. And you can't just see fans feel like they want this team to be in the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, exactly.
And the odds of that happening, I mean, I'm not a gambling man, but it's not in the Bears' favor.
It's more luck than skill.
Zero.
And take, you know what? Stick to your plan. To me, stick to your plan. And I was happy to see them pick the best available player at that position and not reach for a guy that might have been a 6th-round receiver. Someone just uses the number, and then you select them in the 2nd round just because you think you need a receiver. But getting a receiver is not going to beat the Bears. I'm talking about next year. A receiver is not going to make the Bears a Super Bowl contender next year.
Right.
They have a whole lot to fix.
Right.
But I give this particular pick, I'm going to give this an A as far as this particular with Gordon. I give him an A. Anybody else got any evaluations of what they see right now of him? All A's?
I like
I give it an A because what they did was they addressed an immediate need, and now you have a starting cornerback opposite of Jalen Johnson, which is what they didn't have going into this season. You know, I like Thomas Graham. But do I think Kyler Gordon better? Yeah, I do. Because guess what? Thomas Graham was a 6th-round draft pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like it just based upon you drafted a starter that's gonna immediately impact your team opposite of Jalen Johnson. So I take that. I'll take it.
Hey, Plank, let's move to the next one. What is it? Jaquan? Is it Jaquan?
Jaquan Brisker.
Jaquan Brisker.
Nasty.
Okay. Hey, who want to take the liberties on this one? Let's put us on the side here. Well, I got my glasses. I can see this. Jaquan Brisker, safety, 6'11" and 3/8, weigh 199 pounds. 40-yard dash time is 4.49. His strengths: smart player who shows instincts, awareness for the game, excellent in the box, shoot gaps and holds up very well when taking on linemen, does a great job tracking the ball in the open field and through traffic. A violent tackler who arrives at the ball with bad intentions. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like our co-host here, Plank, who got bad intentions.
Bad intentions.
Weakness: he could struggle when asked to disguise deep coverage, needs to be preset in deep coverage before the play, tight pedal at times, and his hip stiffness with flipping to recover. You know, this is actually a report by Beach's report. Plank, what does that mean when it says tight pedal at times?
It means it's he's not very quick to get back in front of the receiver. Once the receiver makes a move on you and starts creating that separation, he doesn't have the quickness in his hips to close that distance quickly. So as soon as the guy gets past him, the guy's gone.
Okay.
Let me give you an example of that. Kendor Vilder last year. Every time the guy went past him, the next time you saw him was 35 yards down the field, catching the ball, and he's still running. So Brisker has the ability to say, okay, he got past me. Let me make a quick stump, and then I'll get right back on him. So that's a tremendous attribute to have in a DB.
Okay. Hey, let's look at some film on him. Okay.
Underneath, and is intercepted by the Nittany Lions, Jaquan Brisker. Nice to throw this, 1, too hard, and 2, it just goes up a little high. If you're going to throw the ball over the middle, you've got to drops back, floats into the end zone. It's intercepted. Brisker. Wow! Brisker. Line of scrimmage. He goes straight over to Ferguson, and he's right there. Mertz never saw him. Brilliant play. Warrior.
The shoulder mentality is real.
All right, Jenny, this time Malusi, his tackle scheme is that
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of a ex-Bear safety with better cover skills. Adrian Amos, who actually went to Penn State as well.
Yeah.
He actually went to Penn State as well. But he has better ball cover skills than Adrian Amos. To me, that's the NFL comp for him. And to be able to have a safety to play in the box next to Eddie Jackson, who we hopefully now back in this 4-3
We'll probably
can do the ball hawker things that he did, when he first came into the league. That's a great attribute. But I think this kid is gonna be okay. I really think he's gonna be okay.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you know what though? Here's an interesting thing when it comes to Jaquan Brisker. And I go back to basketball. Everybody talk about Phil Jackson's. If you look at the squad, you look down the roster, it's like, oh, these dudes busters. Phil Jackson was like, okay, Steve Kerr, you're great at shooting threes. I don't need you mixing nobody up. You need to just come off the curl and hit that shot. The reason why they won 72 games in the championship is because everybody bought into a scheme and they only did what they were good at. You got a safety that hadn't committed a penalty in 2 years. As a coach, my thing is I'm putting this rookie out there. I ain't got to worry about him doing nothing stupid. He's going to be solid. He's going to be steady. And to be perfectly honest with you, when it comes to situational things, as far as certain downs where they're passing downs and stuff, as a coach, it's a luxury to be able to know that you got a rookie back there that's going to make a pretty good play. But regardless of what he does, he's not going to do anything stupid. That's all I got.
Okay. Hey, when the last time the Bears actually had a safety that actually could get there on a side?
Right.
I mean, who was the last time you think the Bears? I keep thinking Mike Brown. I know we had
Mark Carrier.
Mike Brown was nice.
Mike Brown was nice. Not many.
Yeah,
because he asked for.
Yeah, because even during the time of Lovie Smith defense, after Mike Brown left, they really didn't have a safety that I could recall that you could put down in the box.
Danielle Manning was pretty good. Danielle Manning, he was okay.
He was okay. Yeah, Danielle was okay. I mean, I haven't forgave him because he made that game turn, the tide turn in that game. So I still haven't forgiven him when he did not cover his man in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Y'all blaming that on Danielle Manning. That was Chris Harris. Man.
Oh, yeah.
That was Chris Harris.
Well, I blame Danielle, and I'm still mad at him. I've been mad at him, 14 years?
It's been a long time.
But you know what? Hey, the safeties are going to be great this year because I sent out Christmas presents this year. You don't believe me? Eddie Jackson and then Jaquan Brisker. I just sent out his thing yesterday. It's this: the 4-3 defense for dummies. So basically, if you're on an island somewhere and you really don't understand the coverage, if you're one of those people who are dyslexic and take a 3-4 playbook and put it in the mirror thinking it's going to suffice for a 4-3, well, doggone it, from the makers of Bears Banner and Thanos Glove, I've got this book called The 4-3 Defense for Dummies. It'll be sure that you will look at trips and say someone's not tripping or getting tripped, and you will cover a guy. That's all.
So, hey, anybody have any more opinions on him or grade on this particular pick?
I'm giving this pick a B+.
I
gotta give him a B+ too.
I agree.
Yes,
I definitely agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a B+ as well.
Because again, like I said, I didn't think that, because I was thinking offensive tackle, wide receiver with the first two picks. And for them to come out with the defensive backs, I'm like, okay, you know what? Y'all just actually made this defense a lot better. So once cooler heads prevailed, when you like, oh, I didn't get the pick right. Once you sit down and look at it, they solidified the secondary, which was the worst secondary in the league last year.
Abysmal.
Abysmal. So yeah,
Hey Jay,
I definitely give it a B.
So
Let me
this is
ask
what
them-
a lot of the, oh, I'm sorry, guy, go ahead.
I was just going to add something real quick. I think a lot of people, if you have a problem with them drafting a quarterback and a safety, let me just kind of take you somewhere and you can take it where it is. If you have a defense that's doing 3 and outs consistently, now the offense comes in, they're not pressured to have to throw the ball far. They don't have to get 10, 15 yards. You get a ball to Montgomery and let him be the damn run god that he is. You can run clock, knowing that if some way or another you guys don't get the 4th down, you know the defense is coming out. They're going to do 3 and outs, and they're going to put you in a situation where you are getting kickoffs in much more favorable positions. And that was why I like the fact that they drafted a safety and a cornerback. Because now what happens is you go up against like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the most arrogant Hall of Fame quarterback there is. But if he know he got some dogs back there, that if he pump fake and he throw it like 1/8 of an inch wrong, it's going to get tipped down or get intercepted. Now you change the language of their offense. So Justin Fields can come out and be like, okay, let me run this offense, as opposed to coming out like, dag, let me go and try to get a touchdown. When your mindset is to run an offense as opposed to I have to score a touchdown, now you're able to run the ball liberally. Now you're able to run your jet sweeps and stuff and not have to worry about, oh, if it doesn't work. You know that like the Bears mantra is defense. And if our defense is tight, it makes it a much easier job for the offense.
And what happens is when you're rebuilding a team, you have to lean on something that you feel like is going to be the strength of your team.
Yeah.
As you rebuild your team, you're like, okay, one side of the ball got to be better than the other.
Yes.
And although we have Justin Fields, that side of the ball is not the strong suit. So what we have to do is make sure that the defense is the strong suit. And once the defense is strong, the offense will follow. And that's what I think is going to happen this year, because the bottom line is, and I know we're going off script because we talk about the draft, but the bottom line is this team is going to be a run-first team. You know how Love used to be like, we finna get off the bus running? Oh, this team is going to get off the bus running, because that's what the strength is. We're going to play defense and run the football.
There you go.
Yep.
Hey, Jay, as far as you mentioned that particular point, the Bears offense under Nagy never, in my opinion, developed any type of identity. I mean, you all you knew is what he said he wanted to try to do, but you had no identity of what that offense was, right? And so I agree with you, Jay. You try to build the strength of your something to be able to identify your team. And if you look at football, it's 3 phases of the game. If you're better than the team in 2 phases, most times you're going to win that game. And sometimes those phases could be defense and special teams, or maybe offense and defense, right? If you got offense, defense, you pretty much won the game. But if it's offense and special teams or defense and special teams, you probably win most of your games. But when you're not better than your opponent, and if it's only one side of the ball, it makes it more difficult. Like, you could be really good in offense, but if your defense can't stop nobody, right, then your offense got to always have the ball the last possession of the game just to win a game, or they got to get 30 plus more points almost every game. And then vice versa. If if you have a really good defense, but your offense can't score, now you lose games 9-0, 9-3. Games that you say, man, if we could could have got in field goal range, we probably could have won a couple of more. But that's what happened when you only better than a team in one phase of the game. Not trying to get off script, but hey, Plank, go ahead. Then we go to the next play.
To your point, the best team in the NFL last year was the Buffalo Bills. And they lost because they could not stop a team from going down the field 70-some yards with less than a minute left.
If you look back, and not only that, to go back to the Bears, if you look back at the Lovey tenure, they always had great special teams and great defense.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you like Bernard say, if you win 2 phases of the 3, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna win a football game. The Bears have had 1 winning season in the last 9 years, and this whole rebuild is just it just got to start. It's got to start over. It's just got to start over. We as fans, as much as we want to rah and get to the playoffs in the Super Bowl, this is a whole new rebuild, a breakdown, and it's got to start from the bottom to work its way up.
Hey, Tammy.
Yes.
If Ryan Poles' whole thing is what he did, and the coach runs the ball 6 times, you think Ryan Poles, if he come up to you and say, "Hey, baby, over the child," you think you might go out on a date with him?
I'm not a big meat eater, so Taco the child is too much meat for me.
Vegan child.
It was a waste. But what I want to say about this is, y'all know, for the most part, I am a defense girl. I love Bears defense. I love when our defense is dominant. So I'm not mad at the 2 picks. But the reason that I say I reserve judgment, and I know y'all don't agree with this, and it's fine, is that I think we would have been a much stronger defense with these picks had some other decisions been made, which I feel could have been made.
You going back
to really make this defense knock the socks off some people, because I agree, our defense is what has always been our bread and butter. We need an adequate, a solid offense, but defense has always been our strong suit, and it is part of the Bears' identity. And when they get away from that, which they did for a few years, some years ago, then they got back to it. We'll see how all of this new stuff comes together. But I think if they had a draft, I feel like they could have made these same draft choices and kept the defense that we had, the key pieces more in place, and I think our defense would have been lights out.
Hey, Tammy, this is one of the things that has always been said about the Bears. I would say in the last. I would say.
Tammy still upset. I'm sorry, but now Tammy's still upset about the Khalil Mack trade. I know exactly what she's talking about. She's still upset.
I am mad about it. But but we'll see. And I don't think we got what we could have or should have for him. I think that they could have got a little bit more if they were gonna give him up. Like, I feel like it was an important part of the identity and the strength of the defense, and we'll just see how it comes together. But I'm a diehard fan. I'm a root for us no matter what. But I do like the picks that they made. I definitely think they add to the defense. I just think that we would have been a more dominant defense had a different decision been made.
Yeah. So one of the things that Tammy, I think about when I listen to you talk is, over the years we've had this kind of, man, the Bears cannot waste this good defense. Right, this has been an ongoing thing,
and this happened.
Other than like the years, I think it was Mel Tucker and I forget who was the kind of weird offensive coordinator. That was the time probably when the Bears defense was probably at its worst in the last 15 years when Mel Tucker was over it. But at the most part, since the
50 burgers back to back.
Right. But at the most part, there's always been this thing about the Bears. Are they going to waste this defense? Right. This is when you need to strike, when you got this good defense. But basically, the Bears have wasted all those defenses, and primary because, of course, we could say coaching, but primary because they never fixed the offense, and then that becomes the thing of why I actually just personally said that I'm happy that somebody finally came in and said, this is all screwed up, right? And to me, if he, in 4 years, if it's still the team stink, then there's no reason to extend his contract. He don't have no excuse that there was a coach there when I got there, and I let him play for 2 years, and I had to hire my own guy. All those excuses are gone, right? And 4 years, you better have us a championship team in front of us. So I'm gonna have patience with what he's trying to do. I think I understand what he's trying to do, but I'm tired of great defenses being wasted as well. And I do know this is an offensive league, and at some point, if you want to win consistently, you got to get the quarterback right.
Dude, but you know what? It's something about.
Hold on a minute. Let me bring this
guy. Sorry, go ahead, bro.
So that leads to the next pick, which is probably the most controversial pick that the Bears made. So let's bring that up.
I love him. I
love him too, because you can't teach speed, man.
Who wanted to take that? Who can read this? Okay.
Okay, I think his name is Velus Jones Jr.
Velvis.
Okay.
Like Elvis.
5'11" 3/4, 204 pounds. So he's a meaty guy. Runs a 40 and 4.31. Strengths, great speed. Top gear can separate from anyone. He's a smooth runner who can switch lanes with ease and space. Has good contact balance with the ball in his hands. Experience and production as a punt and kick returner. His route tree, among his weaknesses are his route tree is limited right now. He's mostly a screen and go ball player at this stage. He needs to tighten up those route running. So we're making sure that we can iterate that he needs to be a better route runner. We have to have him work with Jay a little bit. And he plays too loose and allows cornerbacks to get the jump on him. So a lot of times they right up in his face. One other point I want to make about this guy that I really like about him, he was born the same day as my son Alex on Mother's Day in 1997.
Hi, Mom.
Going to be 25 years old next week.
Yeah.
I like the guy. I'm gonna call him son, and we're gonna take this forward with us.
Yes.
Okay. So hey, some of his stats real quick. He's actually a player that used up all his eligibility in college. He was at USC for 4 years. His first year he was redshirted. He really didn't catch on as USC as a receiver. Pretty much had about 36 catches over 4 years. Tennessee is where he finally kind of got his groove. 2020, he had 22 receptions, 280. You know, that's pedestrian at that point. But in 2021, he had a breakout year, 62 receptions. Now, was that 807 yards. Hey, let's run the video clip of this gentleman.
That played through a lot of pain at Michigan last year. Didn't talk about it much as he zips it in, shows you that arm. And Velus Jones shows you that speed on a good play for the Buffalo.
Emmanuel, third down. Low throw, scooped up off the turf by Jones. Breaks free. Jones to the 10. Touchdown, Tennessee. 35 yards on a third down and 12.
Wow. 50 years to have that.
There it is.
Velus Jones electing to run that out. And he's got the edge at the 30-yard line. With the pistol.
If this dude can master his route running, he's going to be a hell of a player.
You know what I think of when I think of him? I think of Johnny Knox.
Yeah, but he's a little bit beefier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Johnny Knox. If this dude can perfect his route running,
yeah,
he's gonna be, especially in the slot. He would be hell. He would be hell
Yeah.
To deal with. Because with his size and his speed, it makes him unstoppable. Unstoppable. If he can learn to run routes, if he can learn to run the route tree, he'll be good.
Just imagine a 4-3-1. I'm sorry.
What'd you say?
I said, Jay, go train him.
Imagine a guy with 4.31 speed in the slot. Just imagine him run the slant with some people who are credible and understand offense. Do you realize the mismatch that this dude creates? And he kick returns too. I mean, you know what? People consider him a project, but by the same token, you can't teach speed. And if the dude's got some good hands, you could teach him the route tree. And like Jay said, once he learns the route tree, a guy like that, what you gonna do? Now as a safety, they spend more time as a defensive back guarding this guy. You're thinking less about schemes and more about where is he at. But then you got to pick your poison because you got Mooney burning and you got him. You got Velus Jones on the other end burning. That could be interesting. And then now just imagine them running the ball the next play with Montgomery. Montgomery going to hit it like the 8-yard line and get another 13 yards.
And see, I'm envisioning Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator. If you could put Mooney and Jones, Mooney on the outside and Jones in a slot, and you run a speed combination with those two guys with Byron Pringle on the other side, that could really be something. But we're reserved, like Tammy said, we're reserved judgment to see what happens.
Absolutely.
But that could actually be deadly. It really can. But we'll see what happens.
This young guy he's number one coming out in this entire draft in two categories. Number one, separation. So as soon as he catches the ball, he's gone. Number two, this is Jay's favorite statement.
Yes.
So as soon as he catch it, he is not going gentle into that good night. He's not going to be an easy guy to bring down. He's going to be a problem. So this is why I like this guy so much. Bring it on. I think this was a great pick.
And also,
I think this is a good pick. I'm sorry, Jay.
And also, one thing I want to say is Justin Fields sat down with, I believe, Brian Poles and somebody else and watched film on this guy. And he was like, you know what? I like him. So Justin Fields had some say in the Bears drafting this guy.
That's a huge deal too, man.
That's big.
When I read that, I'm like,
that's big.
It's like, really? When you get a guy, you know what? But that's just like your workplace. I mean, you're at your workplace, and you have people come in with their various mechanisms of how your department should run and everything, and they don't have a doggone thing to do with your department. The management that I love that will walk in and basically ask the people who are there and say, hey, what do you need? Now you feel empowered, because now what happens is you make a credible choice, and number two, you start thinking of inefficiencies that you have in certain places and how that will complement what you're doing. When you have a GM who walks in the door and grabs your quarterback and comes in, what do you think?
I heard people refer to him as a special teams guy, and I believe it was 2006 or 5. The Bears drafted a guy that was a special teams guy. That when the next time the voting come around, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. That's Devon Hester. Devon Hester. Devon Hester ran back with the first kickoff in the Super Bowl his rookie year.
In the Super Bowl, yeah.
The first kickoff of his career at the Bears, I want to say he ran it back. Devon Hester, I'm just saying, people who saying it's a special teams player. Devon Hester was an impact player for the Bears from the moment they drafted him, even though he was listed as a cornerback. And he played some corner in college, but the things they wanted to do and try to get the ball to him, I'm looking at this guy as based off his size and all that, he's going to be able to do some of those other things that that they wanted to do with Hester. I think if this guy's able to put in the work, and to me it shows for him being 6 years in college that he's willing to work hard. He didn't give up on football, right? He went to another school after he spent 4 years at a school and went to another school saying, I believe I could do this. And I give this kid credit. I shouldn't even call him a kid now because he's 20. I think he's 25 years old.
Dude, we call him a kid.
I believe this kid, if he's able to apply, he's one of those players that they listed as he does not get chased down. This is, I mean, like we talking about Jerry Rice not getting chased down. This kid takes a short yard play and run. Hey, think about it. Steve Smith, most of his career, he only ran about 2 or 3 routes.
One of my favorite players.
You could throw that little hitch to Steve Smith, right? And how many players that he ran over, outran, bullied?
He was
the biggest part of the history of the NFL. Steve Smith
was a dog. Steve Smith was a dog.
How many routes? I'm not comparing him to Randy Moss, but how many routes can Randy Moss run on a route tree?
2.
What,
yeah,
2?
Them
2 got him in the Hall of Fame. Them 2 got him in the Hall of
But
Fame.
him getting Revis, look, when he did Revis with that one hand catch in the end zone, as a defensive back, the difference being is a lot of defensive backs get discouraged. Revis, who's a Hall of Famer, and I would have to say is like, hey, it is what it is. And I think the guys have to have a short memory and understand that, man. But I really do like what we picked up. I like the guys we picked up. Jones is what you consider a project, but like I said before, you can't teach speed, man. And Jay will tell you right now, you can have a dude that's raw as hell, but every time, if he's the fastest guy out there and he doesn't have like the route understand or everything, but when you look back as a cornerback, you look at his number, he's like at least 3-4 yards open, you already got 90% of the problem solved.
You just got to get a guy like him. You just got to get a guy like him the ball. Any kind of way you can. You just got to get him the ball. Some kind of way he needs to have the ball in his hand.
Right.
Yeah, because he was a 3rd round pick. And the reason I brought up Devon Hester too, because I believe Devon Hester was a 3rd round pick.
No, he was a 2nd round.
He's a 2nd round? Okay.
Yeah, so, Devon was a 2nd round pick.
So you could find good receivers. I want to say Devontae Adams was a later round pick. I want to say
Cooper Kupp.
Tyreek Hill was what, a 5th round pick?
Cooper Kupp was a 3rd round pick. Tyreek Hill was a 6th round pick.
6th round pick. Okay.
You can find gems. You can find gems. You just got to know how to use the player.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which Matt Nagy didn't know how to do.
You know how to do.
And
that is so true, Jay.
This will be the last time y'all hear me mention Matt Nagy.
Hey, I got another name for you, Jay. How bad did Cordell Patterson look for us? And as soon as he leaves, he's like, damn, fucking, I mean, he's freaking Pro Bowler. I'm sorry, y'all. I apologize. But it has everything to do with it. It has everything to do with it.
So let's go. Looking at this pick right here, I know this is more potential than anything. Now, the people who are kind of, even nationally, who are kind of negative on the Bears or what the organization is doing, at this point is where they said they didn't do enough for Justin Fields. Because do any of y'all agree with that? I'll start off. I disagree with that. I think as much as Justin Fields is your future, you want that play to be right. The Bears have to build a team that's contending to me. And this management did not draft him. This is not saying I'm giving up on Justin Fields or anything. I'm saying this management is not married to Justin Fields. This management has to, in my opinion, has to put the best players on the field to meet what they're trying to do. And I believe Justin Fields is that person. So you don't have to get desperate and draft guys. That was one of my biggest problems with Ryan, the other Ryan, Matt. whatever his name was. My biggest problem with him is I thought at times he got desperate. Like he got desperate when he signed the Red Rifle, right? He thought quarterback would be on. When he signed the other quarterback that Foles, who we had to finally just realize we couldn't trade him, he just got desperate and just say, hey, I need a quarterback because all the guys are getting scooped up. And I think I want to see, I think what I'm seeing is patient and sticking to a plan. Hey, but what do y'all think about that particular comment as far as this particular draft pick drives that point a lot of people believing they didn't do a lot and maybe they're giving up on Justin?
I don't think they're giving up on Justin. Go ahead, Keith. Okay,
from my perspective, every move that they made makes the team better. Right now we're in an age where everybody thinks that they can get a $30 million a year wide receiver and the team is going to be better. You can't. You got to get guys out there that's going to play in the scheme, that are good team players and that are going to actually implement some kind of system. Justin Fields is going to be improved because he's getting the first team reps. He's more familiar with his receivers. He's getting the offense at the same time everybody else on the team is getting the offense. And more important than anything, this is a team of coaches who teach. So at the beginning of the year, they're going to be a different team than they will 5 games in, 10 games in. Because if you listen to this coaching staff, they keep giving you information about why they're doing things a specific way, and it makes sense. So I 100% support that the Bears are going to be better. And they got some dogs out there. That center that came from U of I, as well as that.
Oh my God! Yes.
We're gonna like seeing what they have with those Bears jerseys on.
I just like the whole. It's like a new beginning. It's like a new beginning. Like, okay, forget what we just saw the last 3 years with Nagy and Pace, and I mentioned his name again. I'm sorry. Just forget about that. This is what it is. And like I said, we know we're not going to the Super Bowl. We know we ain't finna compete for the playoffs. I mean, we do have the second easiest schedule on paper this coming up season. But at the same time, it's good to just see a fresh start and a general manager just is like, I'm just trying to fill this roster with players who I know that's going to be here as long as I am, because most of these guys today, they sign 4-year contracts. I don't know what Poe's contract is, but I know it's at least 3 years. So we're going to see some development.
Yes.
And we're going to see some cohesiveness that's going to actually may turn into something that's pretty positive. You know, Justin Fields, he's going to have his time to shine. And I think that when you are an elite player, and I think Justin Fields is an elite player, he can be an elite player, you're going to make everybody around you a lot better. So that means that Byron Pringle, you was the 4th wide receiver in Kansas City, you might turn out, if Justin Fields is as good as we think he is, Byron Pringle may be a number 1 in Chicago.
Yeah,
you know? So, you know, you already got Darnell Mooney, who is statistically wise is a number 1, but is he a number 1? He could be a number 2 behind a Byron Pringle if you got a Justin Fields that is good as we think he is. And I really think Justin Fields is just that good.
Hey, you know what though? Here's my deal. Something I listen to Tammy, because Tammy's in management, and Tammy talks about certain situations as far as from a managerial standpoint. What happens is when you come into a situation, your thing is, I've got a brand and I've got a way that actually works. So irrelevant as to what happened last year, we blowing that up. This is what we're doing. First thing that they started talking about was hit. They were talking about, I saw some of the preseason, like the practices where they have this thing to where if a guy drops a ball or fumbles a ball, I don't care if it's incomplete. Everybody runs to the ball. What happens is you start droning this into people's heads. What happens is during the course of a game, now you start looking at like the elite teams that go to the playoffs and go to the championships. The one common denominator is the fact that when their defense plays, and if a guy does a sweep right, a sweep left, It doesn't matter if a guy's free or not. As soon as they get free, at the end of the play, when you look at it, there's like 4 or 5 jerseys right there. I want that every play. What happens is you actually put in a situation where people are starting to think this. Peanut Tillman right now, and I know people would disagree with me, he should be in the Hall of Fame because Peanut Tillman punched balls out every time, not like every other time. But his whole mentality is, I was going to make a tackle, but once I tackle you, I'm trying to get that ball. If that ball is loose, I'm getting it. When you start doing that every time, I'm telling you, what happens is on those very crucial plays where you get a guy that does a thing like maybe run up the middle or maybe get a pitch off and come out, and that ball, he's thinking more about trying to get yards as opposed to securing that ball. If I punch that ball out, now we get the ball. It's a mentality. You know, you have to, they change it. Hopefully they are changing the culture. And win, lose, or draw, as Bears fans, what we look at, we want to see that motor. Are you out there basically to play hard every doggone play? If they lose, at least as Bears fans, we can sit back and say, man, they only won 6 games, but they played hard. Now you got something to build on. So what they can do is management can go in and look and say, okay, here's some inefficiencies here. We're going to plug that. And then not only just from a team standpoint, you got guys with the free agents out here that are studs, and they look and say, man, the Bears are like a player or 2 away from going there. I want to go there because I made my 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, $60 million. It's not about money for me no more. It's about a chip. So I'll come to the Bears. So
yeah,
I'm
Tammy,
excited.
what do you think about the question down there? It says Michelle, but they said this is Chris. Do you think
that's my brother?
Oh, that's your brother. Okay.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Okay, I got it. I got it.
Yeah, Chris, the Bears gonna run the ball, man. The Bears gonna run the ball. They are gonna run the ball. They're gonna get off the bus running. The other running back that they drafted, which we'll probably get into that in the next show with the later round draft guy. Yeah. He's actually known as a pass catching running back. So I think the Bears are going to get off the bus running. Yep. You know, Montgomery and Herbert are solidified as 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
With this offensive line coming together, I just really think, I don't know who's going to be that right guard yet. I just really don't know. I'm leaning towards Dozer, but I don't think he's going to be the answer.
No.
But the Bears are gonna run the football. They're gonna run the football, they're gonna play defense, and they're gonna play special teams. And our offense is gonna be run first.
So they're gonna be black and blue.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna close out in about the next 7 minutes. Tammy, what you have?
So I want to say a couple things. One, what I hope they do is play a balanced game, but I do agree with Jay to an extent that I do think it's going to be more run focused. But I hope that they do what you guys always say and play the game that's in front of them. So if they need to pass, I hope they make the right decisions in those situations and play the balanced game that they need to, so that the run game and the passing game are effective as they are needed. But we are a running team. That will be the focus, but they do have to develop their passing. As far as the draft and the overall picks, I'm not mad at the draft picks. I think that they did try to address some of the things that Justin Fields needed, and I do think that we have untapped talent, or that we don't know what it is yet. We don't know what we're going to get out of Tevin Jenkins because he only played 5 or 6 games. We don't know what we're going to get out of Larry Broom. We have some things that could come together with the pieces for the offensive line that they did get that could be enough to help Justin Fields develop, not necessarily become the superstar that we hope he becomes over time, but that can help him develop in this next year to become the solid player that we need him to be, so that in 2-3 years, maybe he will be that superstar player that we need. But I think that they did try to address what he needed, taking into consideration some potential things that we have in players already that we didn't get to see.
Yes.
Hey,
and I do
Plank,
just want I just do want everybody to keep in mind also that Justin Fields is going into his second year, and we actually have to look at okay, you pick up this 5th-year option. We only got, and I'm projecting down the line.
You're right.
We only got 3 years before he's going to be up for another contract. So we need to try to get better real quick. This 2022 year is going to be that year where we try to figure some things out. 2023 is where we need to be okay, now let's start really putting this team together to make a run for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
hey, Plank, what did you have on that question? Did the Bears do enough for Justin Fields? And after you answer that question, Jay, I want you to end the show talking a little bit about Zachary Thomas, because I believe you shared some information with us on Zachary Thomas.
Thomas.
That's the offensive tackle. Or was it Braxton Jones?
Braxton Jones. Okay,
Braxton Jones. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Braxton Jones. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you on that. Then we're going to close out.
Yeah, actually, I think the Bears did do enough to help Justin Fields. For the very first time, they are actually talking about changing the team mentality. They bring in guys from day one, talking about the hits concept. They want to get guys that are going to hustle, that are fit. They talked about the way to transform the offensive line. Instead of getting guys that are 350 pounds and can't run, they want to change the framework of how they look. Those offensive linemen now are about 300 to 315. So all of them have the ability of getting off the ball and changing what happens from our run offense standpoint. Last year, you can remember, no matter when we needed a 1 or 2 yards, we can never get it. So that whole mentality of the team, being dogs, being tougher, is going to help the entire team. And I think Justin Fields is also on board for that. And he's going to help bring that same attitude to everything that happens from an offensive standpoint. So I think the Bears are in a good place.
Okay. Hey, you know what? I'd like to say congratulations to all the high school and college graduates that are graduating this weekend. And I'd like to send a special shout out to my son, Luke Mond, who will be getting his degree tomorrow from Southern Illinois University in aviation management.
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations, Luke. In fact, my fraternity brother Rod Gray, son Jess graduated today. So I just want to make sure to mention that. Hey, so Jay, give us a little teaser on Braxton Jones as we close out the show, and then in the next show we'll try to talk about some of these other picks that were made that day.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. They say Justin Fields walking around Hallis Hall like he owned it. They like Justin Fields walking around here like he owned the building. Like he's trying to put this team together. And I give him kudos for that. Braxton Jones, I say he was the steal of the draft as far as our draft picks are concerned. As far as our draft picks are concerned, this dude is going to be our future. I don't know what's going to happen with Bourne or Jenkins, but Braxton Jones is going to be our future left tackle for many years to come. I believe he was the 5th round draft pick.
Yes.
He was the 5th round draft pick from Southern Utah, I believe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This dude is going to be our future left tackle for years to come.
Yes.
If you watch film on this kid, he's a mauler in the passing game and in the running game. He is the future left tackle for the Chicago Bears. Y'all heard it here.
Okay. So we'll talk about the it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's that? 7? Next 7 picks.
Yeah, right. That's 8.
But now,
it's 8. Yes, go ahead.
Pack is nothing.
Hey, so we'd like to thank everybody who tuned in tonight to Bears Banner, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show.
I miss y'all.
Hey, before you go,